Hello everybody, here we are today talking about whether or not the Philadelphia Flyers will finish in the top 3 of their division or if they will fall out and whether or not that'll actually matter. So before we start with this video, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Flyers had a 3-year playoff drought entering the season and a newish GM. They were a team that didn't have very high expectations for a lot of people picking where they would finish in the standings by the end of the year as we approached the start of this season, and I was one of those individuals that said they would finish 8th, and boy does it look like things will definitely be different than that. So Philly ends up heading into the season with those low expectations, and by November looks like one of the biggest surprise teams in the NHL at this point. By the middle of January, they were actually 2 points back of the New York Rangers for the top spot in the division. People like me started to panic and say, oh my gosh, are they going to finish first when I picked them to finish last? Since then, things have changed a little bit, primarily with the top 2 teams in the division, the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. They've kind of been battling it out as top dogs, and the Flyers have been kind of relegated to that automatic 3rd spot, if you will. However, as of late, the Washington Capitals have been able to turn it on. I did a video about them not too long ago, and with the Capitals being able to surge and the Flyers falling off a bit, you're now saying Philly might be looking over their shoulder a little bit to say, hey, what's going to happen here? As Washington is 2 points back with 2 games in hand, and the talk then becomes, are Philadelphia or will Philadelphia end up being a wild card? Will it matter, and how did we get to this point? Well, we got here in kind of a weird way, as after the festivities, after the All-Star break, the Flyers ended up going on a 4-game win streak, and things looked pretty good until they haven't. As over their past 18 games, they've gone 7-8-3 and are 20th in that time for points percentage. This is a team that has not been able to string together back-to-back wins in a minute, and again, seem to be like they've lost their footing over the past month-ish, and are a side that by doing this have seen their playoff odds kind of get shifted around a little bit. We know they're probably going to make the postseason, but this poor form is not really encouraging. What are some things that kind of have gone wrong during this period? A big thing in my eyes is the power play. It's clicked 14% during this entire run, which you're thinking, boy, is that bad? It's actually an improvement over the entirety of their season. The Flyers have the worst overall power play percentage. It sits at something like 13.2% for the entirety of the season. So while this 18-game stretch is not really encouraging, it's actually better than what we've seen for the course of their 72 games. And when you are a side that really probably didn't expect to be in the playoffs and somehow are in this position, I continue to kind of be amazed that you're able to be 32nd in power play percentage and still be 3rd in your division with about 10 games left to go. But yeah, the man advantage is going to have to get improved as the playoffs approach, and really as the season winds down as well and going into next season, because being dead last in that category is just unacceptable. And I do kind of want to add into that, Philly's shot selection is just not great on the power play. I just don't know if they have the individuals that can get them those opportunities. But looking at teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Boston Bruins, they do a really good job getting down into the low slot, especially on the power play. Brayden Point is the answer here for the Lightning. He is somebody that we've talked about before in a series preview where he was just torching the Islanders, and then they actually had to play him the next year, and I think again he ended up torching them down by the crease, and that is somebody that you'd love to have on this team, but that's just not the case. Boston's is a little bit weirder in terms of who's scoring all those goals down low. I thought it could have been maybe Pastrnak, but it's not him. But still, you can see those are some top tier players and some top tier teams that are able to get a lot of success on the man advantage and get good shot selection, something that Philly just doesn't have. And another thing that is going wrong, but at the same time is kind of going right, is 5-on-5 play. It's really weird because the Flyers are dominating shots position and things like that, where they're able to put a lot of pucks on net and be able to have more offensive chances, if you will, in some certain categories. But they just have not been able to do super well in this category, where they've been outscored 34-42 during this 18-game period. And during this time, they have the 2nd worst save percentage in the entire NHL, just ahead of the San Jose Sharks. You'll see periods where teams aren't able to buy a goal necessarily, even though they're playing well at 5-on-5. But to be a team that's able to have a good shots for percentage like they have been, I think it's actually the 1st in the entire league over this period, and to be outscored like that over this run just is not really ideal. And when you play a lot of minutes at 5-on-5 and you're getting beat in some big blowout games, it's not going to be great for you. Now, I think maybe those numbers are skewed because they have had some blowouts where they lost like 7-0 to Tampa. They had a couple of games where they gave up 6 goals, and that could have been part of that. But the game against Tampa Bay, the Lightning scored 3 power play goals, so that doesn't answer necessarily everything. Clearly, there's kind of an issue, whether you want to say that it is goaltending or it's team play, where they've allowed 6+ goals on multiple occasions during this horrendous period, which isn't totally horrendous, but there's been some games where Flyers fans definitely want to turn off the TV. As for other things, you could probably talk about the Walker trade and say, oh, well, we miss him. I totally kind of understand that, as well as the fact that Couturier is ice cold right now, doesn't have a lot of goals. I think he has something like 1 goal over his past 20-something games, but I do kind of want to highlight another player that I'm not pushing all the blame on them, but you were hoping maybe for more this season, one of those players being Cam Atkinson. Cam is somebody that missed the entirety of last season, and you were hoping that with the start that he had this year that, oh man, Cam's back, he had an ability to heal up and get ready to have a big year. He's been ice cold for a long time, and over these past 18 games, he's only played 10 of them and has 0 points in the time they've been outscored 9-1 in the minutes that he's been out there. Somebody that doesn't have great numbers in terms of simple stats or underlying numbers. When he's on the man advantage, he seems to have some of the lowest offensive numbers generated on the power play. 5-on-5, they've been outscored 7-1 there, and Cam is somebody that's been able to buy you goals during his career. He actually had a 41-goal season at one point in his career, and isn't that far removed from a 50-point season. However, injuries and just where he's at this point in his playing days, it might be something where Philadelphia tries to figure out exactly where they're headed. And unfortunately, I really say that because of the fact that he's under contract next season, but he's going to be 35 in this year. It's just been tough, especially over the past 40-ish games for him. And again, I don't want to be too mean because Cam is somebody that is a giver to the community and will help out his community wherever he's at and wherever he's playing hockey. But one of those individuals now that has seen his opportunities slide is over the past 6 games. He's averaged about 11.5 minutes per night. Torch does not care if you're a saint. He doesn't care if you go out there and do the greatest thing in humanity's history and just do all these charitable things. At the end of the day, if you're not able to get offensive numbers or have good defensive player or whatever it is, you're going to get a lot less minutes in his lineup, and that's just how it is right now with Cam. And is somebody that stuck out to me where he's got about 140 minutes but still 0 points. Couturier, of course, you would really hope that he can get things going as well during this period. So those were just a few things that went wrong over this 18-game span for Philadelphia. But do I look at this and say that it is going to be a situation where they automatically drop out of the 3rd spot and then Washington jumps into the wild card? I think no. I think the great thing for the Flyers right now is they have a really easy schedule to finish out the year. They play the Rangers twice, but you know the drill. Looking at Tankathon.com and looking at strength of schedule, it's 27th hardest. So the opportunity is really there to go out and beat up on some bad teams and kind of get back in the right direction as you approach the playoffs. Now, one thing that's really interesting is I do believe they play Washington as their final game of the season. That would be really exciting to see the Capitals and them play in a game that has playoff implications about where they would finish and where they would match up against other teams in the first round. Now, do I look at this too and say that if the Flyers end up getting knocked out of top 3 in the division, which again, I don't really think they will, so I look at it and say, well, this is going to be a problem as they're headed for an early exit. I don't want to say that they're already headed for an early exit. They've had some things that have gone against them this year, but you are looking at a matchup against either the Rangers or the Hurricanes. Both of these teams have been really good. The Hurricanes are turning it on as of late. The Rangers haven't been bad either as of late. Artemi Panarin's having a career year. Like I said, the Canes are getting consistent goaltending, and it was going to be a tough matchup either way. You get pushed out to the wild card, you're still going to play a really good team. So if they even hold on to that 3rd spot in the division, it's not the end-all be-all as it's always amazing. So anyway, that's just my little spiel here about the Flyers and how things haven't really been going well for them since the middle of February, and I wanted to talk about them. We've got another team we're talking about tomorrow. Let's see if you can guess it at the end of this video. But everybody, please make sure to leave your thoughts down below about Philly, and also please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And Eagle of Hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.